Oh man, I feel great. Hello, welcome to another video. I am sick, but I am also determined. No, but I really know, I know myself. I should record this now because the editing time and etc. Point is, this is going to be my October wrap-up. I have not read very much because I am honestly a little bit of a slump. Life and sick, it doesn't mesh well for enjoying reading. But I have officially finished making my board. It is kind of complete. It'll probably change in the future, but this is it right now. I'm very proud of it. If you don't know, I decided that I want to play a wrap-up game. There are a lot of TBR games out there in BookTube, and I feel like the rest of us who don't do TBRs are left out, so I decided to make a wrap-up game. It is based on the book series The Underland Chronicles that were written by Suzanne Collins, and I love those books, so I decided to make a board based off those books. The way that it works is that I progress on the board with the ratings that I give the books, and I now also go in order of which I finish the books in the month. And then, then they're sometimes I can advance, sometimes I have to go backwards. The goal is that once I get to the end, I can buy books. I can buy lots of books, or not a lot of books, or pretty books, or whatever. It gives me a free pass. I don't know, I thought it was fun. If you can think of anything fun to add to the board, like prompts or rewards or trick questions, let me know down in the comments. So we are going to begin. I'm once again not going to read out of my Encyclopedia of Spirits, simply based on the fact that I am sitting here and it is over there and I do not feel like standing up. So, have they been outside? They were outside this morning. You want to let them out again? Okay. There are noises in the background. That's just part of my life. Deal with it.
My bad.
I have my computer on here too because this is much better than my little laptop. So the first book that I completed in October, technically I started it in September, mostly finished it in September, but officially finished it in October, and it was The Shadow of What Was Lost? Yes, The Shadow of What Was Lost by James Islington. I do not own the book physically. I borrowed it from my library. It is a massive book, and I have been reading it because the Backlist Book Club, which is run by Cassidy's Books, something like that. I'll link her channel down below. But she does this Backlist Book Club where they do series that, are older and people have still not gotten to, and I think that's great. Now, I did already read this book before, read it previously as an audiobook exclusively because a friend of mine loves the series and told me that the audiobooks are so fucking good. And this time I read it more physically. I did pick up the audiobook again towards the end of the book. So upon reread, there were a few things that I caught on to a little bit better, and especially since there is the Discord for the Backlist Book Club and seeing what other people say and being told to pay attention to specific things. Little details are very important in this book, and I just really enjoy it. It's just your typical teenage kids that are very important. The main premise is that in this world there was a war previously with these magical people called augurs who have essentially premonition abilities. They can prophesize things, they see what will come, and their visions were always accurate until a specific time, and that's why there were wars. They were no longer relied upon, so they were kind of killed off. Now, our main character, what's his name again? Davion? I think it's Davion. The main character, Davion, he is an augur, and he is in an academy of, forget what they call them. There are other people, what do they call them? Just people who have, they can use essence. Forget what the fuck that's called. Wielders? I don't know. But he's in, an academy like that, but he can't use essence, not like everyone else. And so he worries that, he'll be kicked out. But he ends up being sent on this quest, and his best friend, Weir, goes with him. They just get involved in a lot of stuff, and there are multiple plot points that happen, and I can't wait to keep going with this series. I know that, like, I read it last year, and I said that too, but now I have the motivation to continue it. So, point is, that book I gave 5 stars. Now, I'm going to move my thing on the board 5 spaces. I don't feel like doing the whole tilt the camera down, etc. So I'm just going to hold my board up. I hope it'll be visible. It probably won't be, but my little thing was over here, and I have to move it 5 spaces. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we landed on Ares, who is the bat that Gregor is bonded to, and on the back it says Aries. I have to do 5 burpees. I'm not gonna do that. I'm sick. So if I did do it though, I could, the little dotted line, I could skip 2 spaces and go here. Alright, the next book that I read in October is Small Favors. Okay, this one, I had planned to read this one last year, but I didn't. And this year I was like, you know what? It's gonna get into my October TBR and my fall TBR, and I'm going to get to it because I heard that it was a great young adult horror, and I wasn't disappointed in it. I actually very much enjoyed it. It is extremely atmospheric. It really delivers on that creepy kind of tension horror. So it's basically in a small town. I almost want to say Amish, but not really. It's just very secluded. And this young girl lives with her father, her mother, her brother, and her 2 younger sisters. And they are, I forgot they're apiarists? They raise bees. They have a lot of bees. The very beginning of the book, it starts off right away. The very beginning of the book, there's just some problem that happened in the forest. And they think that there are wolves. Some people think there are monsters. But there's this rising anxiety about there's danger in the woods, and thus they can't send out any supply runs because, well, you know, people are probably gonna die or something. So this young girl, there's a lot of problems. Her dad is trying to get people to, you know, either go find the people who were in the first run or send another run, and it just gets worse and worse because then the parents end up having to leave because the mother is pregnant and she gets into a fight. Like, there are so many things that happen, and as much as I say things that may sound like spoilers, I'm giving 0 context here because I feel like you should just read it if you want a very good young adult horror. Now, young adult tends to not work for me because there's a lot of, like, the angsty teen stuff, and don't get me wrong, it does happen a little bit in here, but I thought that it fed into the kind of creepy aspect of things because our main character does meet a boy, and the whole time I was like, this kid is suspicious, very suspicious, and I was right, but at the same time I was wrong. So anyways, I do think it was really good. Overall, the beginning was really good. The middle, I think, was also, like, it was a little slow, but it was so atmospheric and it was really building it up that I thought it worked very well. My issue is with the ending. It felt very rushed and kind of thrown in there, and the overall, like, monsters that are in the forest, I think could have been better, like, made or explained, or the way that our main character reacts to the monsters and delivers our resolution could have been better, and that's my only gripe with it. So this one came out to, I think it was a 3.75. Hold on. Yeah, this one came out as a 3.75. So I'm going to be rounding that up to a 4 for my board. So I am on Aries. 1, 2, 3, 4. I land on Arena. And in the arena, it's 15 sit-ups. Ain't no fucking way I'm doing that. I am too tired and I am too sick. I am not doing any kind of physical exercises, so I'm also not going to take the possible skip. It's only like 1 space skip, but I'm not going to do it. This is probably like the least exciting wrap-up that I could have done, because the last one, I didn't land on any exciting spaces, and then this one, I am like hitting spaces, but I'm sick and I don't fucking feel like it. So I'm sorry. This could be a lot more entertaining if I wasn't sick, but whatever. All right, the next book that I read. Oh, yes, I'm very excited to talk about this one. I read The Art of Prophecy by Wesley Chu, and I borrowed it from my library. I still have the copy because I haven't given it back. But I want to buy it myself because I had so much fun with this one. So this book is set, it's an epic fantasy. It's very action-packed. The magic is tied in with martial arts, or rather the martial arts are the magic. And really, it's very much a coming-of-age story, but also it has multiple perspectives. Essentially, the story is a young boy who has been named as a prophesied hero, but he's been very poorly trained, and he's kind of just... Oh, Jesus! Anyways, so yes, he has had mostly his ego boosted and told that he's going to be a grand hero, and so he's very snobbish and very stubborn, and he's honestly quite annoying, but at the same time, I kind of enjoyed him because, well, plans don't go the way they were supposed to. So he meets Ling Tai-shi, who she is amazing. And she's like in her 60s, I think, or 50s, 60s. She's older, and she has seen war, and she has fought the big bad enemy, the, what do they call him? The Eternal Khan. She has fought the Eternal Khan that this young kid is supposed to kill, and like she has a lot of experience, and she meets the young boy, and she's like, dude, you suck, like you're supposed to be the hero, there's no fucking way, and he's got so many masters, and she's like, fuck this. So she kind of intervenes there, but then there's kind of a betrayal that happens, and the boy ends up having to go to just some run-of-the-mill martial arts school and blend in, and he has to pretend that he's someone else because otherwise he might get killed. And Tai-shi, she's like, well, I want to understand why this prophecy has been kind of said that, you know, fuck it, we don't care about it anymore. Why is this kid being disregarded? So she goes out to try and find out the truth about it because there's an entire religion based on it. And I just really liked the premise of the book. I really liked how it's a chosen one type of story, but at the same time, not. The writing in itself was just sarcastic, and it was so good. I loved it. I think the writing was so good. It's not my book, I couldn't annotate it, but I want to because I laughed so much. The only downside for me is that it did have a lot of action sequences, and, you know, if you're someone who loves just fighting scenarios, because it went really into detail, like the right punch and the left kick, and it really went into that. So that sometimes was a little bit bothered because I was like, I don't really care too much about the intricate details of the fight, but also the world building. I think the world in itself was very cool. Like, you've got what they call the grass sea, which is literal blades of grass that are massive. Sounds so interesting, and sand that moves like waves. So that was beautiful, the setting, but the world building, the explanation of things sometimes was glossed over a little bit too much, and I feel like I could have used a little more explanation, a little more context, a little more like info dumpy-ishness. So what did I rate this? I think this came out to an 8.5. Or 8.25, or 8.25, what the fuck am I saying? This came out as a 4.25, so I'm going to round it to a 4 because, you know, it's not quite there because I know how to do math and decimal points. I'm at Arena. I still don't know if this is showing, but I'm at Arena. Move up 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, we got Vicus. All right. Vicus in the Underland Chronicles is Luxa's grandfather, and he is like, he's a very knowledgeable person. But the cool thing is that if I get this, if I can pass this, I can automatically win. The problem is that I put this as a riddle generator. So I found one online, but I'm really bad at riddles, so this might take me a while. I did not see the answer. The riddle is, you saw me where I never was and where I could not be, and yet within that very place, my face you often see. What am I? I'm sorry, what? You saw me where I never was, so never there, and where I could not be there. And yet within that very place, my face you often see. The only thing I can think of is maybe a mirror, right? It's gotta be a mirror. Let's see. Okay, well, it's not a mirror, but it is your reflection. Does that count? Do I win this? I don't think so, because it's not the same. I almost had... Okay, the second one. We'll try one more, and if I can't get it, then I don't get this. I'm tall when I'm young, and I'm short when I'm old. What am I? What's tall when it's young and then short when it's old. I'm thinking of my grandma, but that doesn't make sense. Can't be a tree. Fuck, I wish I was better at this. It can't be any kind of plant, because a plant starts very small. For some reason, all I can think of is a plant. A sandwich? I'm gonna say a pencil, because it's tall when it's first there, and then it's short when it's used. I'm gonna say a pencil. Fuck! It was a candle! But a pencil could work too! God damn it, I don't get this. Okay, the next book that I read in the month of October is The Crooked Door. So, The Crooked Door, I got this as an ARC. Originally, I found it on NetGalley, I don't know, a while ago, and I saw that it was going to be published in April of 2023. I was like, I got plenty of time to read this, that's cool. Also, the cover looks fucking awesome, and when I read the synopsis, I thought that would be so cool. Then, right after I finished reading it, and I posted like a review on Instagram for it, Lorena from @LoreBookDreamer on Instagram messaged me and said, hey, did you see Jess Owen's video on the book? And I was like, what's wrong with it? She's like, well, apparently one of the authors, because it was written by 2 authors, one of the authors is an abuser. So I went and watched Jess Owens' video, because I don't research authors. I know that might sound like, oh, well, you're not, being conscious of what you're reading. I just don't research authors. I don't research books either. I just pick up what sounds good. But anyways, one of the authors, not Brad, the other one, Louis Sylvester, has been removed. His name has been removed from the book now, so he's getting 0 credit for it. The other author, Brad whatever his name is, McLeland, has said that he doesn't even want to go forward with the publishing, but who knows with publishing and all that. Point is, I did read it before I knew any of this information, and I personally think it's an okay book. I saw other reviews for it for people who also got an e-arc or whatever physical arc for it, and a lot of people give it 5 stars and stuff. I only gave it 3. I don't think it was that amazing. It is a middle grade horror book, and it's about a young girl, I totally forgot her name, but her and her family are moving because her parents are in severe debt, and they are going to go live with their uncle in Nebraska, I think, or Kentucky, I don't know. But they end up stuck in a very creepy town, which is kind of haunted by a strange monster thing that fulfills wishes, but you need to feed it from time to time, and it likes eating adults. I personally think that it was very creepy. It definitely delivered on atmosphere, and it delivered on the monster vibes and on the scary town vibes. But when it came down to characters and to pacing and even just plot, I didn't think it was that great. I think that definitely the characters, it wasn't really attached to anyone. I wasn't scared of any of the weird ass kids. I didn't really feel much for our main character and her parents too. I was like, okay. The plot too, I think, was kind of just sometimes a little rushed, and I feel like I couldn't quite follow along with it that great. And then the reasoning behind stuff was a little odd. There's this woman who, I guess, she's very, very old, and she was the reason why this monster is in that town in the first place. And I'm like, I get that there's the whole thing of that monster wasn't letting her go, but I don't know. I don't know. There were a lot of things, I'm like, no one fucking thought of calling cops or of trying to, all these people are just okay with the situation. Whatever. And then the whole resolution at the end where everyone's like, okay, well, I guess we're just gonna drive back home. I'm like, you just went through really intense trauma and you're just gonna leave like nothing happened? You're not gonna call authorities? What's gonna happen to the town? I get that it's a middle grade and there's only so much that you can actually present in that, but still. There were just, some things I was not okay with. Anyways, I gave it a 3 stars. I think it was okay. It was fun to read, but in hindsight with problem with the other author, I don't know if they're gonna publish it or not. So do with it what you will. If you are uncomfortable reading a book which was co-written by a predator, don't read it. I know I'm a little bothered by it, definitely. I work with kids. It is a big problem for me, but I, can't take it back, and it's not like the book itself presented any of that. So, anyways, moving on, because I don't want to continue. Fuck, I just saw that giving that book a 3-star has now moved me really far, because I was at Vicus, now I move 3 spaces, 1, 2, 3, I land on Sullivan, Vicus's very unfriendly wife, and that automatically scoots me back to hear. Now that's all the ratings that I have for what I read in the month. Damn it, that means I don't get... Fuck, if I had just gotten the riddle, I could have automatically won this and been able to justify buying myself this book. Whatever. Fine. I was going to try and wait until I finished December part for this wrap up, but it's Saturday currently and there's only like 2 more days, and I've been in a little bit of a slump because, again, I'm sick and life, and I don't think I would have finished this, but it is a very, very good book. I'm very much enjoying it. So I have not finished it, but I did start it, and I thought I'd mention that. And I did also reread the first volume of The Ancient Magus'S Bride. If you don't know, this is an anime, so if you don't want to read it, that's fine too, you can watch it. It's a fantasy manga that is very much inspired on Celtic lore and fae and magic. So you've got this guy who he is a very ancient magus, and he buys this girl who was put into like a black market because she's what they call a slay beggy, and that means that she attracts a lot of magical creatures to her. And it's a little strange because this guy's like, I'm gonna make you my apprentice, and then he spends a little bit of time with her. He's like, I'm also gonna make you my wife, and she's like, what the fuck is happening? So it's a little weird. It's like a weird fantasy, but also kind of a romance. It's just a little awkward at times. So I like it. I very much enjoy the art and the magic and the creatures in it. It very much captures the tone of Celtic paganism, but it's just awkward with the characters sometimes. That's my only thing, is that sometimes I'm like, I don't understand the relationship that's going on here. But cool, y'all are meeting dragons. Like, I think one of my favorite parts in this volume is that the main character, I forget her name, I keep saying main character because I really don't do well with remembering names. I keep wanting to call him Bones, but that's not his name. I think his name is Elias, something like that. Elias, I think. Her name is Chise. So Chise meets dragons at one point in here, and basically one of the dragons is very, very old and is dying, and the dragon speaks with her and says, don't be sad, death is simply me return. Like, the concept of death in Celtic paganism is very different from other religions, and I just think that particular scene with the dragon, it just reflects that very well, and I like it a lot. So that's it for everything that I have read in the month of October. Again, I did not read very much, although I did read some pretty chunky books. And yeah, I'm sad I didn't win my little game. I'm sorry that I wasn't more peppy and more outgoing and showed more stuff or did more things with my game, especially since I did make it for the purpose of making this more fun. But that's what happens when you're sick. Could I have possibly decided not to do this wrap up? Absolutely. But I didn't. I wanted to do it. So yeah. Thank you for hanging out, and I will see you next time. Bye.